It felt like Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner's divorce was easy. He drank, she left, and they raised their kids together. A simple narrative. But Affleck can't keep quiet anymore after 7 years. He made a shocking confession in 2025 that shocked Hollywood. Alcohol and infidelity have nothing to do with why their marriage collapsed. This was a secret that Garner knew the whole time. She kept quiet to keep him safe. What Affleck ultimately said explains why she genuinely wanted a divorce and why she still assists him now. You will be shocked by the truth. Ben Affleck was born at Alta Bates Summit Medical Center in Berkeley, California, on August 15, 1972. Benjamin Gaza Affleck Bolt was his full name. Chris Ann Bolt, his mother, went to Harvard and worked as a teacher. Timothy Byers Affleck, his father, pursues his aspirations of writing and acting. But aspirations didn't help them pay their expenses. The family moved from New York to Falmouth, Massachusetts, when Ben was only 3 months old. In 1975, Casey, Ben's younger brother, was born in the same location. There was always the fragrance of books and the sound of plays being read out loud in the Affleck house. At night, Chris would cite Shakespeare. Tim brought home theater scripts, but they also drank. Tim couldn't keep a consistent job, so he went back and forth between carpentry and cleaning positions at Harvard. They moved from place to town and apartment to apartment, looking for something that might work. The creative flame remains alive even though things were unstable. Ben was a kid when he sat silently behind the scenes and watched Boston actors practice. That interest never went away. By 1983, when Ben was 11, his parents made the breakup public. Chris had been putting things off for too long, and the drinking had taken its toll. She put Ben and Casey in a modest apartment in Cambridge. Her teacher's pay didn't go very far. There were food stamps, clothes that had been passed down, and not much space. But she never stopped doing art. Even when their lives seemed to be falling apart, she pushed Ben to keep performing. At the age of 7, Ben got his first major break. He got a role in the PBS show The Voyage of the Mini in 1984. It wasn't just a game. There were actual scientists, real missions, and a little actor who had to recall hard lines about whales and sonar. That show wasn't simply on in one town. It was on all over the place. Kids all throughout the country saw Ben on TV. That same year, when the show first aired, his parents' divorce changed his life. His weekends were spent between a messy flat full of unsold scripts and a little house where every dollar counted. 2 years later, when he was 14, Ben was the main character in the ABC special Wanted, The Perfect Guy. It talked about peer pressure and identity, two things that Ben knew a lot about. He was already used to entering into rooms full of strangers and learning how to change his mask based on who was observing. That part showed that he could do more than just remember lines. He could sense them. Things grew difficult at home around that time. Tim came to Los Angeles to chase one last dream of writing for the film. Chris tried to homeschool Ben to help him deal with the stress of acting jobs and a school system that was become more competitive. It provided him freedom, but it also made him feel alone. Not the same. Acting turned into more than just a hobby. It turned into a way to keep going. In 1989, Ben went to the set of The Flash. It wasn't a big hit, but it included stunts, action scenes, and actual crews. He was only 17, yet he had more experience than some of the grown-ups around him. That year, he also starred in Field of Dreams as a younger version of Kevin Costner's role. He watched every move Costner made and tried to copy it flawlessly. There weren't many flashback moments, but they took a lot of time and discipline. Ben and Matt Damon first met in 1984 at the Cambridge Ring and Latin School. They were both 12. They both liked drama class. They became friends through improvisation, local language, and the thought that they might be able to accomplish this together. They made up short plays. They looked at scenes in music. And then they went to Los Angeles with only enough money to buy food. A lot of rejection, ramen noodles, and shared rooms. They tried out for more than 100 tiny roles. Some jobs paid, but most didn't. But every time they said no, they had to write their own yes. In 1991, Ben left the University of Vermont after only one semester. He wanted to do something. Nothing else worked. The fight became gasoline. He and Matt realized they had something to say, and eventually that something turned into Good Will Hunting. Before that script transformed their lives, Ben played Chris Ree, a quarterback, in the 1992 movie School Ties. There was a lot of stress in that function. He had to pick on a Jewish classmate and say terrible things to him. It wasn't only acting. Ben thought about what he had observed growing up in Cambridge. The way privileged youngsters looked down on others and the divisions that were invisible between neighborhoods. In that early surge, there was a bitter lesson. While the meme was on its way, a newspaper said that Ben was having an affair with a 15-year-old co-star. He was only 12. He said it wasn't true, but the damage was done. He had a taste of what it was like to be famous, even if it was just a little bit. That people would conjure up stories about shadows, and those shadows may follow you for years. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon were poor in 1992. They lived in a small basement in Los Angeles and were attempting to make it as actors. They began writing the first 40 pages of Good Will Hunting without any money or support. They merely had a plot that was based on their own lives. At first, it was just a one-act play, but it grew into something much greater. For more than 3 years, they kept rewriting the script, making each scene better and going deeper into how the characters felt. They didn't do it by themselves. Terrence Malick came in and said that the plot would be better if Will didn't chase Skylar at the end. That thought changed everything. The movie's emotional heart started to take shape around grief, choice, and being true to yourself. Then William Goldman showed up. He took out 60 pages of pointless action and told them that the heart of the movie was the relationship between Will and his therapist, Sean McGuire. That change in focus transformed the tone. Rob Reiner also spoke up and asked for more clarity in the emotional twists. These mentors worked on a rough draft in secret and turned it into something real. Castle Rock agreed to buy the script in 1994, but they only had 6 months to find another studio if they wanted full ownership. It almost came apart. Kevin Smith gave the deal to Miramax, which saved it from dying. That action rescued the movie. Gus Vance took over as director in 1997, and the casting process started. Affleck got the part of Chucky Sullivan, but it wasn't easy. He spent weeks working on his voice and listening to people from South Boston to get the dialect perfect. He didn't want to sound like a visitor. He wanted to sound like he had lived there his whole life. The company wasn't sure about casting two unknowns as the stars, but Damon and Affleck's chemistry won out. The movie started to take shape when Robin Williams, Minnie Driver, and Stellan Skarsgård joined the cast. The scene that hit the hardest came at the end of filming. Chucky says that the nicest part of his day is the 10 seconds he spends walking up to Will's door and hoping he's gone. That scene wasn't exactly what was written. They filmed it on a night while it was raining. It took 12 tries. Affleck was inventing things up on the spot, using all of his fears of being confined in one area and never getting out. He wrote the words, not simply the script. Damon cried while filming. Vance didn't get in his way. The team didn't say anything. Everyone could feel it. That one monologue really got the movie's soul, and it stuck in. The 70th Academy Awards took place in March 1998. The Best Original Script Award went to Good Will Hunting. Damon and Affleck walked up. Two kids who used to write in the basement. They thanked their moms for believing in what they called their crazy dreams. That speech stayed with me. It wasn't about showing off. It was about the trip. Everyone in the room felt it. Not many people realized that they had turned down a $1 million advance before all this because they wanted to preserve creative control. It was a brave thing to do. They could have transformed their life with the money, but they kept the script. They had already sold it for $600,000, but after taxes and agency fees, there wasn't much left. They messed up quickly. A Jeep, a party house close to the Hollywood Bowl. They were out of money again 6 months later. But when Good Will Hunting finally came out in theaters, it made $225 million throughout the world. That one risk turned them into legends. After that, Affleck's career took off. In Armageddon, which came out later in 1998, he played AJ, a tough guy who goes to space. The filming was hard. 16-hour days in simulators that make you feel like you're in zero gravity. The harness broke during one rehearsal, leaving him hanging for 45 minutes, his body hurting and sweating through the wires. That kind of physical stress became a normal part of his life. He continued going even though he was hurt. He began filming Bounce with Gwyneth Paltrow around 2000. They played lovers who were haunted by loss, and the emotion came through in real life as well. They had been on and off dating, but celebrities started to tear them apart. When Paltrow won the Oscar for Shakespeare in Love, the media attention got too much. Friends stated Affleck looked, music, far away. He drank more. He tried to hold things together, but they were falling apart. Their true chemistry made the movie better, but their relationship fell apart behind closed doors. It was over by 1999. In 2001, Pearl Harbor happened. Affleck was Rafe McCauley, a pilot with W Toys. The production was huge. More than 20 repaired warplanes flew low over Hawaiian waters, but one of them crashed during a performance. 3 crew members were hurt, and filming stopped for 2 days. Safety became the most important thing. The studio kept going. The dogfights in the air and the love triangle drama formed a part of a great story about war. But there was tremendous pressure behind the scenes. He tried again in 2003 with Paycheck, a sci-fi thriller. It didn't work. From 153 reviews, Rotten Tomatoes scored it only 27%. The tale didn't work. People who didn't like it spoke bad things about it. It made him less sure of himself. He had turned down The Matrix years before. He didn't want to play too many sci-fi parts. He said that was his worst regret of 2010. It hurt to see The Matrix become a worldwide sensation, especially after my income fell apart. Affleck's drinking had already gotten out of control by the time they filmed Dogma in 1999. He played the part of Bartleby, a fallen angel. But he was sneaking flasks behind the camera. Long night shots in Pittsburgh. The strain was growing as quickly as fame. He went to treatment in 2001. 30 days. His family had a history of drinking. He didn't try to hide it. For years to come, that early admission of addiction would be a part of his story. Ben Affleck didn't take it easy when he started directing. In 2007, he struck the streets of Boston hard with Gone Baby Gone, his first movie as a director. The studio wasn't very comfortable. In just 10 days, he and his colleagues looked at more than 85 real places in the city. They didn't make sets. They filmed where the story took place. Murphy's Law Bar on Summer Street, a property on Pond Street in Dorchester, and even the Quincy Quarries. It wasn't about style for the sake of style. It was about being honest. He hired his own brother Casey Affleck to play the major role, used natural light, and allowed the rough texture of Boston do the talking. The movie only cost a few $1 million to make, but it made $34.6 million around the world. The finale didn't make me feel better. It made people feel torn, and they argued over what was good and wrong for a long time after the credits. It was more than just a good first show. It was a warning. Affleck meant it. That earnestness came across in every frame. Affleck also didn't make up the police part of the story. He hired actual Boston police officers, especially those who had dealt with child abduction cases before. He asked them a lot of questions, from how the interrogation rooms were set up to how they broke criminals down. You could see that they were paying attention in every scenario. You can feel it in your bones when a child goes missing in the movie. But the kids who acted never went too far. Affleck engaged professional instructors to help them do it safely. Control, not chaos, made it feel real. The squad cars were authentic too. The result wasn't shiny. It was different. It felt like it had been lived in, and the movie became known for being brutally honest rather than portraying a clean story. Affleck came back to the town in 2010. This time, sharing a narrative about a robbery that is full of loyalty, desperation, and history. It cost $37 million to make and made $154 million over the world. That was a 125% return, which is unusual for a crime movie that takes its time. But it wasn't by chance. The FBI turned down his request to shoot inside real Charlestown vaults. So, the team reconstructed them piece by piece on soundstages. The actors didn't know either. They sat with genuine bank robbers and watched how they moved, talked, and made plans. It took 10 days to film one of the largest scenes at Fenway Park. The effects didn't cause the stress. The clock ticking made it happen. Everything was filmed as it happened. It was clear. But Affleck's fight with his cinematographer almost brought the town down. They couldn't agree on what the city should look like. One craved the brilliance of Hollywood. He dismissed Affleck because he wanted Boston's bruises to show. In the middle of making it. It was a risk. Instead, he brought in Robert Elwit, a long-standing colleague who became famous for shooting There Will Be Blood. Elwit saturated the screen with melancholy neon and shadow, which helped the movie get a 94% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. People saw. Critics understood the tale was good, but the way it appeared helped it stick in their minds. Affleck didn't just stop at lighting. He also took charge of the sound. He spent $2 million of his own money on post-production. He wanted the gunfire to sound like it occurred in genuine robberies in Boston. So they went to nearby ranges, shot real bullets, and made all the sounds from scratch. It worked out. The film did not get an Oscar nomination for Best Sound Editing. It was deserved. Every little thing was planned. Affleck wasn't making movies with action in them. He was making memories that hurt your heart. When he put on the cape in Batman vs. Superman in 2016, it wasn't only an emotional change. It was real. He gained weight quickly, going from 215 pounds to 215 pounds while consuming 3,000 calories a day and pushing weights like a machine. For 5 months, his trainer made him do heavy deadlifts and tight cardio. He looked like Batman. But Affleck was torn within. He and director Zack Snyder had a lot of arguments about the character's core. Snyder wants Batman to be more dangerous and dark. Affleck thought of him as a hero who held the line. They fought a lot. The fight got into the movie. Some admirers liked the dark tone. Some people didn't want it. Affleck was stuck between the story and the truth. Next up was Justice League. What should have been a victory turned into a nightmare. Snyder's daughter died in a horrible way, so he quit. Whedon took over. Affleck was already having a hard time because of his divorce from Jennifer Garner. The movie was also starting to fall apart. He was filming scenes for 18 hours straight, with little sleep. He was empty within, burned out physically, and the tone kept changing. What began as Snyder's grim epic transformed into something strange and out of place. He said it himself. It was one of the worst times in his life. That chapter reached its climax when he departed from directing The Batman in 2017. He said it was personal in public. It was survival in private. The black narrative was fueling his own. He went to treatment to fight his alcoholism and sadness. The Batman script was making things worse. He couldn't stay in that headspace much longer. So he let go. Matt Reeves was brought in by Warner Brothers. The direction changed. Affleck's time in the Batcave was over, and he said that leaving was probably the best thing he could have done for his life. But the cacophony followed him long after he left. In 2021, an old audio recording of a GMA interview from 2010 suddenly came out. Affleck was ranting at a producer in it because the sound quality was bad. It was real, raw, and angry. The media turned it into another Affleck outburst, but for some, it was a rare look at the stress he dealt with every day. He didn't come up with the expectations, the labels, or the stories. They came from folks who sought a version of him that didn't really exist. That leak didn't kill him. It indicated that he was human, exhausted, fallible, and trapped. The Flash was Affleck's last Batman movie, which came out in 2023. He was on set for only 10 days, yet his compensation didn't show that. He made $25 million in only 10 days. That number told the whole story. The world of superheroes is profitable, but it's not always tranquil. Affleck was finished. The suit came off. And with it, a chapter that pushed him to his limits. Soul, mind, and body. There was a cameo from a multiverse. Affleck saw a door shut. He didn't leave angry. He left knowing that he had given it his all and gotten lost along the way. In 2000, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner met for the first time on the set of Pearl Harbor. He was a pilot in World War II, while she was a nurse with a modest part. At first, they didn't like each other. They were both dating other folks. But things changed 3 years later on the set of Daredevil. They were cast as love interests, and their relationship started to grow off camera as well. Garner later remarked he was good-looking, tall, and dark. They went on their first genuine date in 2003 to a Boston Celtics game. It wasn't fancy, but it was them. They both lived in working-class towns. Affleck is from Cambridge, and Garner is from Charleston, West Virginia. They didn't like the glitz and glam of Hollywood. They just wanted something authentic. They left for Turks and Caicos on June 29, 2005. There were just 30 people at the wedding, and it was a secret. But Affleck forgot the wedding rings, so they used hotel keycards instead. It didn't make a difference. It was private and quiet, which was just how they wanted it. Their daughter Violet was born 6 months later, on December 1, 2005. Affleck chose to take time off to be a dad. He stayed home, watched YouTube videos about changing diapers, and attempted to be a hands-on dad. Garner was filming Alias and taking care of her new baby at the same time. They supported each other and took turns, and they attempted to stay out of the spotlight. But things started to shake in 2007. A tabloid wrote about the nanny Christine Yuzunian. She said she had a covert affair with Affleck. She said they went to hotels, sent each other music texts, and even had private time at Hotel Bear. According to reports, Garner found out while on a trip to the Bahamas. The tale went viral. Affleck's team disputed everything, but they later paid $500,000 to resolve the case privately. After that, they made security stricter, closed down privacy, and sought to keep the kids away from the commotion. Affleck was in charge of the town by 2009. He worked in Los Angeles, yet he made the stage feel like home. He hired extras who reminded him of people from his old Boston neighborhood. He would take the kids to the set and let them play there. He completed research for the FBI, talked to real bank robbers, and yet had time for his family. They were trying hard to make things work because Garner was pregnant again. But in 2015, the flaws were too big to cover up. Affleck drank a lot while he was filming Batman v Superman. He said in an interview in 2018 that he drank a bottle of scotch per night. He would sit by himself and attempt to ignore the agony. They had been having problems in their relationship since 2013, but they didn't tell anyone until June 30, 2015. Garner began going to Al-Anon meetings. She wanted to know what he was going through. She was hurt and fatigued, but she didn't stop loving him. They informed People magazine that it was over that same year. They had attempted therapy and tried to stay together for the kids, but nothing worked. Affleck remarked in 2021 that his addiction had killed any hope they had of getting back together. He was embarrassed. They both did, but they didn't want the kids to have to live in a tense house. During an interview with Howard Stern in 2016, Affleck opened up much more. He remarked that being a dad made him feel confined. He drank to avoid bedtime stories and the tumult of life at home. It was hard to hear, but it was true. Garner has taken him to rehab more than once. She stayed with him even when she was tired. Their family did things to help. They still thought he would make it. The divorce was final on October 28, 2018. It took 2 years. Affleck agreed to pay $100,000 a month to help with the kids. They both had the right to take care of Violet, Serafina, and Samuel. Later, he said it was reciprocal. They didn't want their kids to grow up in a home where love had turned into quiet. Instead, they chose peace. The media was all over the place, but they didn't say anything. They kept coming back for the kids. Affleck fell back into his old habits while filming The Way Back in 2019. He passed out on set. Garner stepped in one more. She helped him get through another time in treatment. When it came to the kids, they always worked together. They didn't allow the cameras get in the way of co-parenting, even when they followed them to school drop-offs or rehab institutions. Affleck told GQ in March 2025 that his split from Jennifer Lopez wasn't a scandal. On August 20, 2024, she filed for divorce. They had broken up months before, on April 26, and made it official in January 2025. He stated they just grew apart. The media's pressure didn't help. He tried to keep their narrative safe, but that only made matters worse. He remarked that year that the HBO documentary didn't expose any big surprises. It only showed what happens in genuine relationships. In 2025, he was on Jimmy Kimmel Live again and talked about Garner again. He said she was great. He said she helped him become sober in 2018 and has always been there for him. Now Violet was 19, Serafina was 16, and Samuel was 13. They had been co-parenting so well since 2020 that they even celebrated Thanksgiving together. They were seen together at a Red Sox game in October and then again at a homeless shelter, where they worked together. Affleck remarked that co-parenting with her was the best thing that had happened to him. Affleck and Lopez went to the New York premiere of Kiss of the Spider-Woman in October 2025. Lopez had starred in the musical adaptation of the movie. And Affleck's business had made. This was the first time they had been seen in public since their music divorce. They stepped on the carpet together. It was strange, yet it was real. He told her how much he liked her positive attitude and how she had always been a light in his life. After that, he said something else. He said Garner was his genuine anchor, not because they were dating, but because they shared something that went beyond romance. Affleck's career was already on the upswing. He and Matt Damon started Artist Equity in 2022. Their debut movie, Air, came released in 2023 and made $90 million on a $90 million budget. Affleck was in charge of it. He added that staying sober since 2018 helps him keep on track. He wanted to tell real stories again with real power. He told Elle in 2025 that being honest with himself and with Garner had opened possibilities he never believed were attainable. Affleck looked back in a Vanity Fair profile that same year. He remarked that most of what others thought about their breakup was merely noise. He and Garner had taken their time. They became different. They grew in separate ways. But she helped him become the father he always wanted to be. He claimed he'd rather go to family therapy than play a large part. He didn't like how the world saw their end, but he didn't regret the life they had built, the kids they raised, or the lessons they learned together.